Greetings from the Asian Productivity Organization Secretariat. Welcome to all viewers to this APO's Productivity Talk, which is a series of discussion on the topics related to productivity. This talk is organized by the Asian Productivity Organization. Arsoni Buana from the APO Secretariat will be the anchor of today's talk. So more often than not, particularly during pandemic, during a crisis such as the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic that has upended nearly every aspect of our life, we are always constrained by limited choice, difficulties, and challenges in moving forward with our life. In such situations, organizations or companies tend to deprioritize innovation rather than it pays a lot of their attention on the survival. So in brief, they are the companies, the organization, they're usually in a survival mode rather than doing something that innovate the way they do things, the way they produce their products. But however, there are always two sides of any crisis: the danger and also the opportunity side of it. So our discussion today will center around how companies or organizations could even be more innovative during the crisis by deploying right approaches in managing innovations. Focusing on the opportunities that is arising during the crisis can be done through the conduct of regular scanning of both internal and external environments. The innovative responses, which can be in the form of products and of course processes, are then developed and commercialized depending on the result of the scanning. So in this talk, we will share some of the examples of timely innovative products that are proven to be beneficial during the pandemic. With the right approach, products that are made before the pandemic could even find greater utility and adaptability during the pandemic. To discuss about this interesting subject, we are joined today from New Delhi by Dr. Nomita Sharma. So, Dr. Nomita Sharma, glad to have you here today with us in this talk. So, hope you are always well and healthy.
Thank you so much, sir, for having me here.
So, let me just introduce a little bit of herself. Dr. Nomita Sharma is an expert on innovation management. She is also an assistant professor at the Department of Management Studies, University of New Delhi, India, and she has written numerous publications on innovation management, with particular focus on SMEs as well as any other related subject in the field of management. With that introduction, I would like now to invite Dr. Sharma to start with her sharing and presentation. Dr. Sharma, please.
Thank you so much once again for having me here on this very useful talk during the ongoing crisis that everybody is hoping to go off, but it is still lurking around, and companies are still struggling to find ways and ways to find innovations and other things by which they can survive. So thank you so much once again. So pandemic, I think, is one certain scenario that has given us the biggest challenge and the most difficult time of our life so far. But at the same time, it has also given us many opportunities that have come in the form of different innovations during this time. And they were surely required to fight the pandemic like situation. And this was the beauty of pandemic, that we got to see so diverse range of innovations, ranging from radical innovation, product innovation, process innovation, social innovation, technological innovation, so on and so forth. And it was because of these innovations only that we have come so far. We are discussing this relevant topic in today's time as well. So thanks to all the innovators that took out the innovative response at the right time and took that initiative to come out and commercialize the products. This was only made possible because of the regular culture that they have in their organizations of doing innovations, and also regular scanning that they have done of the environment from time to time. So, in today's talk, I'm going to focus on these topics: innovation, management of innovation, barriers created by the pandemic, managing innovation during the pandemic, and path forward and upward. So innovation is nothing but the process of creating new products, new process, or even a service offering more value. It basically will focus on benefit or more advantage to the customer with respect to specific problem that these people are facing. It starts with the introduction of a new product, process, or service to the marketplace, and it focuses on its commercialization finally at the end. It creates new and differentiating market opportunities, no doubt, that have never existed in the past. So it focuses on either increasing the operational efficiency, providing more value. It may also focus on providing affordable products that maybe are very costly right now, but due to the difficult situations, people can't afford to buy them. There may be a cost advantage to even to the organizations as well. There is a competitive edge that it gives to the companies that is very useful in building up the image in future. And lastly, it also provides many benefits to all the stakeholders in the society. At the end of the day, it will basically focus on a particular problem that people are facing, and it will work around solutions that are required to face or manage that particular problem. And I think in the pandemic time, there were so diverse kind of problems that people faced, ranging from running down their companies, even basic survival, or even managing the positive mindset. So management of innovation creates long-lasting advantage when it meets one or more criteria. And the very first criteria is that it has to be based on novel principle that challenges management orthodoxy. So over here, we are not talking about the new things all the time from the scratch. It may happen that we have a new concept which is made in a new manner, which might be having some old methods or some old criterias or even some older products. It is a systematic process encompassing a range of processes and methods. There is not just one way or one method where we can say that this is a fixed method which will help us or make more innovative products. It is a part of ongoing program of invention where progress compounds over a period of time. We really can't innovate in just one day or in just one month. And even if we innovate, we can't be very sure all the time that this is going to meet the demands of the people right now in the current scenario. Because the problem is that when we try to innovate and we start with innovation, we surely take some time to arrive at the last stage of the product. And it may happen that by the time we arrive at that stage, people might change their preferences, they might change their needs as well. But in the pandemic, I think this particular time was not available with anybody, be it an organization or be it a consumer or be it any other stakeholder. Innovation is always aimed at addressing some specific problems. So, as a company, we need to find out what problems people are facing. And it is not a necessity that we always have to come out with a new product altogether, which is radical in nature. The same problem may be solved through the older products, but maybe which have been redefined, which have been redesigned in a new manner. It looks forward to a commercialization. So we have a very simple example of a humble, simple chair that we all have seen in our offices, in our homes. And the very first chair is a very simple chair that we normally use to do our work, especially when we want to have our back straight. And certainly, we can't sit on this chair in one position for a very long time. So, at times, I may look for a chair which will relax me. Certainly, in the evenings, while listening to music, I will want to sit on the second chair rather than on the first chair. So, the second chair is a revolving chair, but at the end of the day, it is still a chair only. The third chair is also a chair, but it has been redesigned in order to figure out and give solutions to the problems that people are facing with respect to some other scenarios. And in this particular chair, we are looking for not just for sitting or not just for relaxing, but also for massaging our body. And in this chair, also, we can't sit for a long time. Maybe we can sit for 20 minutes or maybe 1 hour, and that's it. And then gradually we'll move on to the other products that we require for our problems that we are facing. So the point is that it is not always a necessity that we always have to come out with altogether a new radical innovation every now and then. Radical innovation may happen certainly after a long time. It will create a new market altogether. But when we talk about these small incremental innovations, certainly the product will stay same or it may remain same, but there might be few incremental changes that are made in the product that may result in a new market altogether, but in the same product domain. We have another example of a simple humble mask. Not no doubt, I think pandemic highlighted the utility of mask to a great extent. And in a way, it gave a lot of advertising to mask. And this is something that we all knew from the very beginning. And if I just go a century back in 1918, when we had a similar kind of environment, same situation was there. At that time, also people started wearing masks just to save themselves from the infection that was prevailing at that time. Coming back to 2020, we have variants of mask in during this time. And the reason of that was that maybe one of the reason was that it went on for a very long time. Initially, when it came on and people started wearing masks, it was a very short duration and nobody expected that it will go for that long. People actually waited that 5 months, 7 months, and now it will go off. But it was nowhere to go. And maybe there was a time companies realized that why not come out with the different variants of the mask, maybe mask which is not only a mask but which is also having a funky line or maybe a trendy nature or a design, and which is more fashionable and which will make people more comfortable in wearing masks. It was also seen that many people were complaining that they can't wear masks for a very long time. They can't communicate properly. It is very suffocating at time when they're wearing masks in the public place. And also, it is a very simple mask which may not look very fashionable at times, especially when we are going to our office or when we are going to our colleges. Though they were all closed, but still, they were people were coming out to do different works of their daily life. So the second mask came in with a design. It was more adjusting type, and it was another kind that made people to purchase it. The third type of mask of another mask, which is again a mask only, but a change was made in this mask to make people understand what we are talking, because when people started complaining that we can't understand that, the design was changed so that people can read our lip movement, and at least by that they can understand what we are talking. But again, these are not the only three kind of masks that we had in the market. There were many more which are available in the market, and people must have tried out in the public. So management of innovation is nothing but scanning of external and internal environment. That is a very first step that we do as a professional. It is very important to scan what is going on outside the market, outside the company, and understand the symptoms that are prevailing. And these symptoms are always there in the market and the environment. And these symptoms have to be understood, they have to be analyzed on the timely manner, especially with respect to pandemic. Because as I said, pandemic gave us no time. Initially we could see that many people were suffering because of that, and there was no solution to this problem. So organizations came forward to scan what is happening and what is the need of the hour. They tried to match the two together for the required innovation. So some companies tried to come up with sanitizers that were not only the sanitizers, but they were also very good with the skin when we are using it on and off on it. There were different kind of companies that came up with a different kind of mask. There were different innovations with respect to ventilators, different applications that kept the people engaged during this difficult time. Third is the most important step in this case. That is where we develop the innovative response in the right time. Because it is very important to focus more on the first step, second step, and then ultimately, if we are focusing more on the first two steps, the third step will not take much of a time. And that was, I think, one of the reason why we could see so many innovations during this limited time. Last is the commercialization of innovative response. And now, in this case, I think companies will always want to go for more profit. But when there are difficult times like pandemic, I think commercial profit cannot be the only motive of any organization. Because at that time, people are more keen on giving a solution to save the mankind. And that was a basic aim of all the organizations that came up with. But yes, there were many other organizations as well who had some other motive as well. So these are the basic principles that we have for managing innovation. First of all, it has to based on some value that we have to offer to a customer. It is always based with the help of future focused leaders, because they will not be innovating just for a day or for a month. They will always be innovating with the future scenario, and it may happen that innovation may be adopted later in time, because we know that innovation takes its own time to get adopted in the market. There are people who are early majority adopters, there are people who are laggards, there are people who are very active innovators who will want to try these innovations every now and then. But as a leader, we know that all innovations may not be adopted at the same time and at the same rate. But in the pandemic, due to the emergency or due to the threat to our life, many different people came forward to try these innovations that came forward. So, be it a different mask, or be it a vaccine, or be it a ventilator, or be it any other product, every other stakeholder tried all innovations because it was the threat to their basic survival. It has to be strategically based as well, because when we are innovating, we need to remember that we're not innovating just for a short term goal. There might be a short term reason or a short term objective, but when we're innovating, we're always innovating with a long term perspective, and we aim to capitalize on that in coming future. There has to be a culture of innovation that will keep the innovative products in a regular track. It will also tell managers and entrepreneurs what has to be innovated and what is required to be done in the present scenario. We also need to exploit different insights that are available in the market. In the pandemic, I think the biggest challenge was that there was no physical contact with the people, no matter what medium. We only had the online mode of selling and buying things. So companies often had to rely on the news articles and the different research papers that came from time to time to tell that what is the need of the hour. And depending on that, they were able to change the designs of the product and they were able to offer them to the people. We also in a position to manage uncertainty. I think if we manage innovation in a continuous manner, there won't be any time like we had in the pandemic initially, where it actually caught us unaware and unprepared. We also need to be having adaptable structures, because we just can't go ahead with our rigid policy matters or rigid environment. We should be able to adapt to the changing environment and see what is the need of the hour, and that was done by many companies. So many companies changed their timings. Many companies focused on fewer staff strength because they knew that this is the only thing that can be done if we want to have any business continuity. And then finally, we do need to have the system approach where we need to see the bigger problem, and then we need to find out smaller solutions for the smaller problems that are there in a bigger problem. And that systematic approach will help us in coming out with the innovative product in a very fast manner. So we have a couple of models over here which will certainly help in managing innovation to a great extent. So the very first model is a stage gate model of innovation. Now this particular model is used as a technique where we divide the project into different stages. And at the end of each stage, there is a kind of a gate that acts as a checkpoint or a control point for proceeding to the next stage. That means this gate will basically ask what we have done in the stage one. And only when we have done all the things in the right manner as per the planned process, it will allow us to go to the stage two. So that way, when we follow these gate step approach, there are very less chances of error that might happen when we are innovating these things. And these errors could be with respect to different scenarios, with respect to the market change that has happened now. It might be because of the high price of the raw material that we have used, or could be any other such example. So this model is very useful in developing new products, process changes, or improvements. So we can see stage 0 to stage 5, starting from discovery to the launch and the implementation. All these stages are interrupted by the gates. And each gate will check what has been done in the stage 0 before proceeding to stage 1, to stage 2, and to the other stages. We have another very important model that was very important with respect to the pandemic time. It says that new knowledge is not necessarily the driver for innovation. Instead, it may happen that the process begins with the identification of an unfilled market need. And in the pandemic, I think there were so many unfilled market needs that were there that people needed, but they were not available. So, be it less priced medicine, be it sufficient ventilators or sufficient PPE kits, or even the vaccine for that matter as well. So something was not available, and there were these companies that were willing to make those products and take a huge risk in that. I have to say, and thanks to all these companies who took a huge risk by going in that area, which they were not sure whether it is going to give them a profit or not. So innovation is a learning process involving multiple inputs. Innovation does not depend on any invention process, but rather it will focus on the changes that come from time to time from different stakeholders like consumers, suppliers, even the agents, and all other people who are part of this environment. So we start with the potential market, that there is a need of a product of this particular kind in the market, but we do not have any manufacturer of that. So companies take a note of that. They start inventing, they start producing and do analytical designs of the product, which and do the feasibility study as well. They make the detailed design and test it, they redesign it, and finally they distribute that. But if we see very clearly, all these phases are interlinked with the other areas of knowledge and research. That means even if we have started out with the one product development, we are open to the changes which are happening with respect to knowledge or research in the market. And this is what was done in the pandemic time. Nobody was very clear which medicine is required initially to fight pandemic or which vaccine is required to fight pandemic. But as and when the time went by, more knowledge sources were there. It was shared that if we do that, it will result in a better treatment, or if we do a B method, it will result in a better treatment. And that is the beauty of this model, that we are not relying on only one need, rather we continuously change as per the need of the market, and we bring the change in the product as well. Another very important approach with respect to pandemic was the barrier approach given to innovation given by Haji Manalis in 2003. So he said that barriers may act as innovation stimulants rather than as inhibitors. Barriers provide motivation to innovate and organizations to work around the barriers to figure out a potential solution. I would like to quote out a very famous architect based in Taiwan, Arthur Huang, who said that situation like pandemic actually forces us to work around and adapt to the current situation. And even though people were still looking for the vaccine and the other products, it was the motive of the organizations to come forward with the products, the required products in the market, and that is what they did. Barriers created by the pandemic, yes, all roads were closed. Whether it was a road going to our office, to entertainment, or to gym, or to hotel, or to any other place, we just couldn't go out to any place because of the risk of catching infection and virus. And that was the initial time when we were not clear about the behavior of this virus and the form of this virus that it has now taken. So the different barriers were supply related. There was a supply shortage. Essential medical supplies were not in supply. Even general supplies were short in supply. There was a shortage of raw material as well, due to which in many other regions the vaccine could not be made on time. Apart from that, we had financial barriers as well. There was delay in payment, increase in the defaulters. And for catering to this particular barrier, many companies made very unique separate applications to track down the defaulters. On a very regular basis, they track the customers who were making payment on monthly basis, or they who are not making payment at all. So this helped them to decide whether they have to continue with one consumer or the other consumer or not. There were demand related barriers as well. In fact, there was no money. Many companies were shut down, and they said that lockdown is not same for everyone. So the very first picture is the picture before the pandemic, when it is a happy go lucky family. And in the pandemic, we have the scenario where, due to the shortage of the disposable income, jobs, and even due to the pandemic, people were in a difficult situation. So they had fluctuating customer demands, perceived risk of buying. They risked whether if they're going to go out, it's going to give them infection. And mostly people went online for buying and selling. But there were major chunk of the people who could not even buy and sell things online because of lack of technology. There were market limitations, shops were closed, and even if they were open, they were mostly crowded because all people came out to buy their daily needs. Apart from that, we had internal barriers as well, where the main concern was the health of the employees. There was fear of getting infected, and it was both mental and physical health. And I think more than the physical health, it was also the mental health that affected the most of the people. There were internal policy issues. There were some companies who were very liberal with the employees to work from home, but there were many others who were waiting for the notices to come out, and they asked the employees to come to office for working. And there was coordination problem as well, because many people were not used to working online, and many complain that it is resulting in burnout. They can't sit on with laptop doing work all the time, and many complain that it has basically become a work of 24 hours. And one thing more I want to say, that when companies were quite rigid with the policy matters, they had the reason for that, because nobody was sure the way or and the behavior of this particular virus. So the moment it came down, everybody thought that now situation is good, now now we can go back, and we can go back to normal and start doing our normal things. But that was never the case. That we got to know only after a few months. There were external barriers. There were very large chunk of the workers that came from the other cities, and during the lockdown and the imposed restrictions, they had to go back. And due to that, also there was a major shortage of the workforce. Border closures were there, policy actions were there, which were very rigid for the people to stay at the same place. Apart from that, we had shortage of resources as well. There was shortage of medical staff, medical supplies, medical raw material that were equally required for the innovations that were required during this pandemic time. Apart from that, we had psychological barriers as well. So there was low morale, there was depressed state of mind that people went through. It was a threat to basic survival. People got so anxious that we have so many cases of suicidal attempts by the people, that they were so worried about the future, that what's going to happen, whether they're going to get infected or not, and if they're going to get infected, what's going to happen because of the shortage of the different resources. There was discontinuity of all sort. There was inactive lifestyle in the lockdown, because certainly while staying at home, it was not possible to do and be active as we were before the pandemic time. But I think initially, when this barriers all came up, everybody had an idea that this lockdown or this closure cannot continue for a very long time. So, in a way, mentally, people were ready that time will come when we have to come out and face the pandemic and fight with the pandemic. But there were a lot of other people as well who were not very persistent with that. So we had prevalent rate for mental health outcomes among university students during the France COVID-19 lockdown. And we need to remember that it was only for one particular region, for one particular sector, and for one particular segment. The same results more or less were there for the other sectors as well. So there were suicidal thoughts of 11.4%, severe distress was there, high level of perceived stress was there, severe depression, and very high level of anxiety. And if you see the numbers, the high level of anxiety is actually more than the other numbers. That means due to this high level of anxiety, people just couldn't focus on the innovative ideas and on doing their regular job. So these were the crucial factors for managing innovation during the pandemic time. It was very important to know duration within which innovation is made, because we just didn't have the luxury of months and months where we can experiment and keep on doing and innovating and figuring out the right product. We actually were in a very short range of time that we had with us to innovate, and thanks to the companies that were able to innovate in this short range of time when the innovation is made, it was very important to note that it is not a necessity that all the innovations were made in the pandemic time. There were many other innovations. I'll say that we have the drone, we have certain telecom examples, 4G, 5G, which were even done before the pandemic time. But these products actually saw more utility or more adaptability during the pandemic time, because it was a need of the hour. And even though we know that innovation adoption will take its own time, so even when these products were launched at that maybe 2 years back or maybe 10 years back down the line, people didn't realize that they have a need for these products because they were not in the pandemic like environment. But the moment pandemic like environment came, they started looking and searching for these options that were available, and they started using them as well. Correct matching of external and internal variables was a must that will result in right innovation, because most of the companies, I will say over here, that fail because there is a mismatch in what they have made and what is required in the market. But yes, we also have to remember that we may not be able to always match the needs of the consumer by 100%. There will always be a gap of 10, 20, or even 30% by which we are not able to meet what people want. But even if we are able to meet by 60% or by 70%, I think our task is done. And with time, as and when people get to know about more about that innovation, they will adopt that and they will start using that. Advanced preparation does help, even if it costs a bit, especially in the time of emergency, because it makes more sense to save some resources for the difficult time that we don't know when it's going to come up. But if we have those resources, we can utilize them and get some work done from them. Technology acted as another savior during this time. So another strategy that companies can use is that always add a tinge of technology in their process, so that they are not totally dependent on the capital, are not only dependent on the labor for doing any work. And we saw that if we have technology, the right technology at the right time, we could do most of our work online, and they were done online only. Idea generation emerged as the most important parameter in the managing innovation in the pandemic time. because we were short of ideas during this time. Even though we had resources, money was there, even though skilled people were there, but people took their sweet time to understand the virus and emerge a response to this particular scenario. So we have innovative solutions that companies have taken up from time to time. So the very first example which I'm going to take over here is by DigiKey, that is electronic component distributor based in US. So they came up with the idea of ultraviolet sanitization tunnel. Now the problem was that in this virus, the major threat was how to call group of employees at the same time and make them work on in the factory premises and make them do the work. And if they're calling, there's a major threat of getting virus infected. So they came up with the idea of sanitization tunnel to ensure employee safety, to restore employee confidence, because even employees, there were many employees who left the jobs, who were forced to come, though they were not forced to come, but they had an idea that they're going to come, so it's better to stay at home and save the life. This particular technology also helped in ensuring business continuity to the company. The tunnel that uses ultraviolet light to kill 99.99% of the organisms on the toads, including coronavirus, drastically reducing the contact for DigiKey employees. But initially, when this particular innovation was done, they had two main challenges. And the very first challenge was the design of this particular tunnel, because it never existed in the past. And since it was the emergency, they had no time. In flat 3-4 days, they were able to come up with the design, and they installed the tunnel in the factory premises. And they restored the employee confidence by ensuring that the tunnel is going to sanitize all the toads that are passing through the conveyor belt. Another challenge was how much UV light to use to expose the toads. So they decided that let's use the less this exposure for a short duration, and let's sanitize this as per the required criteria. Another very famous innovation was the mask, which we've already seen, but this particular mask had antiviral coating features. And it was only because of the combination of the antiviral coating and the base material due to which this mask could be made very successfully. So it protects from virus, it is antiviral, it is very easy to wear, washable, and it is reusable as well. And then I've already said that mask is something that was to be used for a very long time. People were looking for something else in the mask apart from just being a mask. So it is a breakthrough innovation in face covering technology. It is non-medical, reusable, and washable covering as well. It is very comfortable to wear. It follows the facial features, and it very easily snugs around your face. It covers critical infection points of the face. Can be conveniently worn, and also it supports clear communication when it is worn by people. Very important innovation was made not in the pandemic time, but it was made in 2017. And the project started in 2017. I had an opportunity to discuss with the founder of this company, and they said that they never knew that this particular innovation will be so useful in the pandemic time. It was a direct response to the labor shortage. The product uses artificial intelligence perception algorithm to locate fruit trees and vision algorithm to find the fruit among the foliage and classify its size and ripeness. Please play the video.
Fruit farmers' most difficult task is organizing the harvest. We need a large number of reliable pickers, and we have to pay wages, organize visas, housing, food, healthcare, and transportation. Costs are rising all the time. This is hard, seasonal work, and other crops can pay higher wages. Young people all over the world are abandoning agricultural work in favor of higher paying, full-time urban jobs. After realizing that fruit farmers were going out of business, we began an urgent search for a technological solution to solve these problems. That's when we found Tevil. They offered us a 21st century way to pick fruit. Using Tevil's harvesting management application, we tell the control center how many robotic pickers we need, when we need them, and for how long. When we need them, Tevil's control center sends the technicians with a fleet of pickers. After a short setup, the robots select, pick, and box only ripe fruit ready for market. With the robots working day and night, The application provides real-time updates on harvesting progress, time to completion, quantity picked, and costs. This is our future. Tevil, bringing prosperity to fruit farmers for generations to come.
So during this time, it was seen that normally the labor shortage is always there in this particular sector, but in pandemic it increased more. It actually became bigger. No one wanted to take a risk to come out to just do this small job, which is not very high paying job. So this particular company raised funds over $30 million, and they also got the grants from Israeli Innovation Authority. The particular device can pick 90% of the fruit without bruising. And this was a major challenge as it is the integration of all complex algorithms with the challenges to maneuver accurately in uncertain weather. And the same accuracy we may not get when we are having the labor to do the same job. The COVID-19 made the shortage of labor much bigger and resulted in more food wastage. So there's a global shortage of seasonal food pickers made worse by COVID-19 travel restrictions, and this was the handy innovation which found its more adoption during this time. Some farmers are also forced to leave the ripe fruit to rot as a result because they realize that it's more important to save life than doing a particular job. Another innovation, a very right innovation, which came at the right time by a National Informatics Center under the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Arogya Setu, the bridge to liberate from disease. Initially, when the pandemic came, people were not aware what's happening with them. Even a normal cough that they were having, they didn't realize that it's coronavirus or it may be virus also. But they tried to shrug it off as a normal cough and a normal symptom. And due to that, also the virus spread very fast initially because nobody knew whether it's the virus or the normal cough. So Arogya Setu is an Indian COVID-19 contact tracing, syndromic mapping, and self-assessment digital service. The application reached more than 100 million installs in 40 days. It guided and alerted us through the pandemic time. So it will ask us many questions regarding the symptoms that we are facing or we are having, and depending on the symptoms it guides us what to do and how to take precautions, how to not to go in the areas where there is more likelihood of the people with more infection. So we could get to know in a particular area there are more people with the infection. It also got to know that in these areas these are the hospitals, these are the other areas which are available that we can use. And likewise, there were many more applications that came forward after this that really helped people in the pandemic time. Corona Warn app by German federal government with the highest level of the data protection. Corona War uses Bluetooth to evaluate if the phone users have moved near to each other or not. I would like to say one thing over here that initially when the pandemic came, kind of, sort this pandemic kind of became a social stigma that people, took it. They never wanted to acknowledge that they're suffering from the virus. And that made the situation worse because they were also people with the asymptotic scenarios, and nobody got to know whether they are really with a person who looks fine, but there is no symptoms that he's having. That also further aggravated the situation, resulting in more cases. So in this case, consumers get a push message about the person if they have been so close to somebody who is having this infection. The technical backbone was created in cooperation with Apple and Google, and with this application, we get to know whether we have been near to somebody or not with the virus. And if we have been near, we can accordingly take the precautions and steps which are required to save ourselves from the virus. Fitbit Flow by Fitbit Inc. It was a low-use emergency ventilator designed in an intuitive and user-friendly way, developed as a response to the challenge faced by the medical industry during the COVID-19 crisis. It minimizes the strain on the health workers. We saw so many videos of the doctors, even of the nurses, who actually requested every one of us to take precautions so that the situation under control. And seeing this particular design was made, which is very intuitive and very user friendly and very easy to use. Mental resilience app by ggtude. As I said, that people didn't just go through the physical torture, they also went through the mental torture. So this particular app was created to help individuals to mentally cope with the coronavirus crisis. As I said, that they were more of anxiety among the people. They were not sure what's going to happen with the jobs and with their lives, and that resulted in more depression and more demoralized state of mind. It is a personalized tool that enables users to enjoy mental resilience even during the times of uncertainty. It makes people more positive, it boosts their confidence, it will engage them in a positive manner without having to type any single line. And this was very useful during the isolation time when people are all alone, they have nobody to talk to. They can't meet anybody, their family members, they can't meet their friends as well. So I think this was the only help that they had to pass their time and keep the positive state of mind to go through that struggle. PathSpot, a scanner that fact checks one's hand washing efficiency. I think this particular habit is not new, but this became more important and more prominent during this time. It became very important to check whether hands have been washed by 100% clean or clear or not. So tracking quality of hand washing and enables its improvement. Very useful in restaurant and hotel business. It provides immediate feedback on hand washing efficiency. So by using that, we just put our hand on the scanner and we get to know the result there and then, whether the hands are cleaned by 100% or not. And if they're not cleaned, we are not allowed the entry in any hotel or any restaurant. We are supposed to clean our hand again and then come back to the machine for checking the quality of our hands. AI powered safe and scalable goods delivery by Refraction AI. No doubt, things were ordered and they were sold and purchased online, but in spite of that, there was still another risk of having the delivery of these products by a physical contact by the employees. And that further, to some extent, made more people conscious of delivering even through online platform. So robotic platform that provides safe and scalable goods delivery in the cities. Rev1, a delivery robot, is able to carry various goods and deliver them with minimal contact. And it can operate on both bike and car lanes, and it can work in any weather condition. It was more high tech. It may not be the same scenario in across all the regions across the whole globe, but certainly wherever it was used, it was very beneficial and very helpful during this time. Portable gym at home. Many people were in a regular habit of maintaining their physique, going to gym on regular basis. But this particular thing was we no, the gyms are closed, spas and all these facilities are closed. We just can't go out even now, even though the pandemic has slowed down a bit, but it is still lurking around. So OYO Fitness developed a completely portable gym to sculpt muscles and practice all sorts of sports at the comfort of one's home. So we don't have to specially go to gym for doing exercise or to maintain our regular physique. We can easily use this product at home, and they say that the results are more or less same as we get if we go to gym. The Spiraflex technology used in the product enables customers to use different weights while they work out. So Paul Francis, the inventor of the Spiraflex resistance technology, made it for the NASA's Mission Critical program. The mission was to prevent astronaut bone and muscle loss caused due to zero gravity. The NASA 16-week study proved that Spiraflex provided the same benefit as the gold standard of free weights, and over 50 international space station crew members have kept in shape over the 10 years. And this was the most important innovation, I think, because the whole focus in the pandemic was on maintaining health, not only physical health, but mental health as well. So all the ads that we must have seen on TV or online, they have this added line that it is an immunity product, or it will give you more immunity and protect you more from the virus. So that was the change that also came in the many ads that we saw on the different platforms. Apart from these products that we have all seen over here, apart from the product innovation, we also saw many process innovations going on side by side that was adopted by many organizations because that was the need of the hour. They realized that what they are making, maybe perfumes or maybe high-end products or maybe the luxury products, nowadays people are not buying that, maybe during that time, initially part of the pandemic. So they thought that it's more important to make something that people now are buying or they are more willing to buy. So many companies change their production assembly lines, they change their schedules to manufacture something that was more in demand right now. So retrofitting is nothing but the process of fitting of a new or updated parts to the old or outdated assembly line to manufacture product currently in demand. It is very useful during the market fluctuations. It meets the current demand, results in production efficiency. And but one thing we have to remember over here is that matching of what is required, it must be done with what can be made, and that is a must aware for the company, because all companies would want to do all things for the people, but all companies cannot do because of their own features, because of their own strengths. So many companies like Louis Vuitton, L'Oreal, Zara, they started making things which were more required by people in the pandemic time. And the aim of making these things what was not the profit. The aim was more of matching what people need now, and let's make that and give some reason for them to be happy. So path forward and upward. So strategy for managing innovation in the pandemic time. Here I propose a model which we normally use for managing risk and emergency situations, and pandemic was indeed a situation of emergency. So here we use of emergency management model for managing innovation during pandemic time. There are four main components to this: mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. All these four steps are important in order for it to for any company to come back on the recovery track, and in order to come back in the new normal after the pandemic time. So mitigation focuses on reducing the impact of the pandemic or the situation which as of now has not happened. And this can only be possible when companies are ready for an unlikely situation which as of now has not happened, but it is likely to happen maybe in a month's time or so. But more or less companies fail in doing that because they feel that investing some money on something that is not going to be used right now will be totally waste of the resources. But I think it is important to understand mitigation process, especially with respect to emergency and the pandemic like situation. So in mitigation we aim at reducing the damage that the situation like pandemic can cause and make companies shut down their plants, or even the decrease in the economy status. Preparation basically focuses on looking for those skills or looking for those resources which we might be needing in the pandemic time. But the big main drawback of the pandemic was that nobody expected this to happen. And in a way, no company, no country was prepared to manage it in a way, the way it happened. And even now, we see that in many other regions, it is still happening at a great level, and people are still advised to take many precautions. So, preparation is all focusing on the raw materials or the resources that we might need to prepare ourselves or to fight when the pandemic has happened. So in this case, like in the case of supply chain companies, now when we saw that many countries had their dependence on few regions, we know that during pandemic time the supplies were hit. They were majorly hit because supplies could not come and reach on time. So if we are prepared and look for the alternative options, maybe in the other allied areas, maybe in the other supplier partners that can supply us with the material and maintain the production in a continuous manner, that will help the companies in the long run. Response is the development of the innovative product or a process that we use to fight the pandemic like situation. So it may focus on developing hospitals, makeshift hospitals. Like many hotels converted them into the makeshift isolation centers. Many other community halls also gave their place for the use of for the patients. So this was done. Many things were done, but a lot needs to be done. Recovery is the last phase, which will depend largely on the way first three steps have been handled. If we are good in mitigation, preparedness, and response, we will not take much time in recovering from the pandemic. So we have this simple diagram of this particular model that we can very easily use for managing innovation during pandemic time. So in mitigation, try to have the resources that we might need in the emergency situation or in the pandemic. We may have skilled people, we may have those technologies that it is not a necessity that we're going to use them only in the pandemic. We may utilize them in our day-to-day work operations, and we may use them more when the pandemic starts. Preparation is maybe having a separate department in the company may help the companies in managing it very well. Having the drill mock drills from time to time may also tell the status of the preparation of these companies from time to time. And response is nothing but the immediate development of the innovative response or the product that can help in fighting with this situation. And recovery will depend on how we have done our previous steps. It is basically the actions taken to offer an emergency situation to restore and resume in the normal conditions. And I'm hoping that things will become normal very soon, and everybody is waiting for things to become normal. So that was all from my side. Any questions? I would love to answer them.
So thank you so much, Dr. Sharma, with your sharing and presentation. I personally really enjoyed it. Allow me now, please, to get back with you, with some questions to follow up of your presentation. The first question, perhaps, that I would like to pose to start our discussion is that I think you mentioned about this before. I mean, this is about what are usually the primary reasons for the companies or organization to innovate during the crisis. Were they motivated by or reacting to short-term goal only? I think you mentioned about they always look at the also look at the long-term goal. So which case is this that you are observing during this pandemic?
I think that's a nice question. I think in the pandemic time or pandemic like situations, even if the organizations have the primary goal or a primary objective to earn profit or to earn money, I think during difficult times they have the other objective as well. And that is to save mankind and save humanity. And I will not say that profit motive is not there. It is surely there. But the major aim was to help the mankind because everybody knew that nothing is happening. We don't have any product or any process that can save us from the pandemic. And if we don't have these innovative products, well, this will go on and go on. And there's no end to that then. So I think this was the urge from the entrepreneur side who saw that people are suffering a lot and there is no alternative available to them. And even if it is available, it is very risky, it is very dicey, it may not give them the required solution. And that was the, I think, motive that people had in their mind with which they came out with these products. Another thing I want to say that whenever companies are innovating, there might be short term reasons, but it is always a long term objective that they focus on. Because initially in the pandemic time, they may not be able to earn any major profit. But certainly, in future, when they come out with the innovative products and ideas, people will remember them and people will cherish them. And that was the ultimate aim.
Mhm. Um, Let me follow up with the second question that I have on my list is that this is about the innovation or adaptation that businesses, the organization, the company, the businesses have made in response to COVID-19. To me, it may appear to be just nothing more than reactive responses to these unprecedented situation. Your view about this? Am I correct with my observation about all of this?
Yes, certainly you're partly correct, but I would like to add on to this that no doubt innovation is always a response. But in this case, it was not only a reactive response, but a very timely response. Many other companies could have rested and thought that, okay, let the other companies come out with the innovation. But a very timely response was required to fight this pandemic time. And every innovation, I think, will start with a symptom or with a problem that is prevailing in the market. And it depends on the innovative organizations to trap those symptoms that are prevailing in the market. So if we don't do, for sure, short, somebody will do that. So I think it was a very timely response of the organizations that were able to understand the symptoms that were prevailing in the market. And not only tapping these symptoms, they were able to understand the symptoms, they were able to understand the requirement of the market. And they came out very in a very short time, and that was the wonder of innovation.
What are your views and observations on the innovation carried out by SMEs during this crisis? Can they really innovate, do you think?
Well, another very relevant question because no doubt pandemic was a problem for everybody, be it a small enterprise or a large enterprise. But as we know that SMEs already are there surrounded with so many barriers. They're small in nature. They don't have much resources, and also there is also a danger of continuity that they always face. But I think there were many SMEs in the especially sector of information technology and the pharmaceutical line that were able to innovate and result into innovative products as a response to the symptoms. So many companies were there that started as online lectures or online tutorials or online schools. There were many other enterprises that started making these applications. Like I remember when we had the first wave, second wave, and so on, we used to get these application patients that we can use to find out whether in a particular hospital we have a bed available or not, whether we have oxygen concentrators available or not. So these very applications were indeed made by these small entrepreneurs who were able to understand the need of the hour. And even though they had to use these their own resources, they didn't mind that. They were able to do that, and that was more important. So many SMEs did innovate, but largely they were there from the information technology sector and the pharmaceutical sector. They were that were able to come up with the different kind of medicines, both allopathy and Ayurveda, that saved our life so far. So all thanks to all the people who reacted on timely manner, whether they were small or they were large.
So now my question is about how the managers or business leaders within the organization or company, they can maintain the constant flow of idea generation for innovation during this difficult time. I don't think that I were one of them, the managers or business leader. I would be just staying low rather than doing something new. So your view on this, please.
Yeah, well, that's a great question, and because it was indeed a challenge to, because there's a difference when we are communicating face to face and we are communicating online. Sometime internet is not there, sometime connection is not there, and we all have struggled a lot during this last 1.5 year to come at a very relevant point and the ideas that were required during this time. So I know that a lot of organizations focused on continuous meetings and continuous dialogues with the employees and the other stakeholders, even though they could not meet them physically, but they connected with the people, all the stakeholders, be it the students, be it the consumers, suppliers, and the other people, to ask them what is the requirement now and how things can be improved more in the current scenario. So having the regular dialogue with them, I think, can generate more ideas, because ideas, when we're generating them, it's not a surety that all those ideas will be selected for making a product. Even if I select 100 ideas, from 100 only 50 will pass the feasibility study, only further 25 will go on to the next level, and ultimately only 5 will come on the field as a product. So the aim should be to increase the number of ideas at the initial level from 100 to 500 on regular basis. It might be a challenge, and it was indeed a challenge. So I know many companies, Samsung and many other companies, that did these regular meetings on regular basis with the employees, with the consumers, with the suppliers, to understand what problem they are facing now, so that these problems can be addressed. So I think regular communication with the employees and the other stakeholders is the answer.
Okay, so we know that there are some companies that are failing. There are also some that are becoming the winner, I would say, in this difficult situation. But my I'm curious to know what kind of companies or organization that can seize this opportunity and during these hard times, and then will emerge, stronger post crisis.
So, thank you so much for the question. I think, well, sure, short, all the companies that are having some link with technology or with knowledge, all the companies in the knowledge intensive sector, I think, are the ones that are going to win the race eventually, because they realized, we have seen that in the pandemic, technology was our main savior. Without technology, we just couldn't do any work, whether it was meetings or taking our classes or even giving lectures or attending any conference. If you know, all things have happened online, whether it is a webinar, conferences, and other things. And even if you notice the products that have come up, they're all based on some technology or some technical based idea has been used in the product. So I suppose all the companies that are in the line of technology or related with the technology, maybe telecom or maybe use of a certain device which can improve the communication, will be the ones that will go ahead. So all the companies in the knowledge intensive sector, like pharmaceutical, information technology, and the related areas, are going to win the race. And even the other companies in the capital intensive sectors, my advice will be that always have a tinge of a technology in your production process. Try to add on a component, so that there is no over dependence on a capital. because and all the companies that had dependence on only on the labor or only on the physical resources, they were the hardest hit. And other companies that were having more reliance on technology and this knowledge based resources were the ones that were able to come out very successfully.
Allow me to go back to the question related to on SMEs innovation. So, what are the lessons learned coming from this ongoing crisis for SMEs innovation? What are the strategies that they could deploy, not only for their survival, but also to seize the opportunity? And then after that, they can be resilient after this crisis. What are they?
Yeah, so thank you so much for the question. I think SMEs need to work hard and hard because they already have less resources with them, and the pandemic has taught them and everybody a very big lesson that we just cannot take any emergency situation lightly. Need to focus more on training, more on technology. They also need to be more flexible. Already they are very flexible, so they need to see that what things can be changed or can be sold in the present time. As I said, that retrofitting could be one of the strategy that they can use, but again it has to be seen that who all can change their production lines to meet the demands of the current scenario. But many entrepreneurs I see, they were able to change their strategies in order to meet the demands. I know many travel companies who are basically there for the tours and packages when people want to visit and have fun time. All these companies started offering their services for providing ambulance for the hospitals. And also there were many auto rickshaws that provided with the oxygen support, especially for the patients who had problems in commuting to the hospital. So I think the key lies in being more flexible and changing very fast as per the situation, because during this time we never had any big enterprise giving us this service of ferrying patients from hospitals to the home. But we had these taxi drivers who did that help. We had auto drivers as well. Apart from that, very small entrepreneurs selling vegetables or selling flowers. So during this time, all the religious places were closed. So what they did, they started selling the vegetables and they started using the carts, going from lane to lane and surviving through that scenario. So they need to be very flexible. They need to retrofit in a way that is better for them, but they need to find out that how this retrofitting can be done. I'm very sure that the way retrofitting has been done by the big companies like L'Oreal, Zara, Louis Vuitton, it may not be possible by the small entrepreneurs. But certainly they will find a way out. Like I know that a person selling a flower, he started selling vegetable. A travel company started offering cars and these other vehicles for ferrying patients from one place to the other place. And there were also these people who were making these applications to make people more aware about the availability of beds and availability of the other resources. So I think the key lies in understanding that whenever we are in the pandemic like situation, we need to act very fast and in a very timely manner and very in a very appropriate manner, because whatever action we take, people are very quick to reject the products if they are not happy with it during this time. So we need to be very fast, but at the same time we need to be very fast with our right decision as well to come out with the product.
This is going to be my last question before we end this interesting discussion um, on managing the innovation. Um, is there any guarantee for those countries that are being successful in this pandemic to innovate, to sell their innovative product in the market? Is there any guarantee for them that they will be emerging stronger and having better growth after the crisis? Do you think?
Well, thanks for the question. For sure, short. Like I said, that many innovations were done in 2017. And when a company does any innovation, they expect it to be adopted very easily. But it never happens all the time. But many companies who have innovated in 2017 or even in 10 years in the past, they saw that utility coming up during this time. And I think this is the motivation for those companies to continuously innovate in future as well, because innovation is something that may not give you the result there and then. It takes time. People take their time, but there are a lot of factors that are involved which will make me buy any innovative product: availability, disposable income, and also awareness about that particular product. So I think this particular situation which has happened where people
I
have
don't need to mention
adopted
anything
these.
but video.
innovative ideas will make those companies innovate more and continue in the path that they were working on. This is the further motivation for them to innovate, and I'm very sure they'll be successful, because any innovative company, I think, if they're scanning the environment on regular basis, can never fail. Mostly, we have seen that even the larger enterprises have failed because they could not see the change that was coming up in the line. We have very famous example of Kodak, and many other examples are there. So if we are not able to understand this change which is lurking around the corner, we are bound to fail. But if we have this habit of innovating, irrespective of the pandemic or not, I think we are bound to win no matter what.
So thank you so much with all of the sharing and giving us so many information with regard to the really interesting subject, I believe, particularly in these hard times, with regard to the how the companies or organization can survive by managing or deploying the right approach of innovation management. With that, I would like to express our gratitude to you, Dr. Nomita Sharma, for all the sharing knowledge and also your wisdom with us. I think you have mentioned about it's also important to actually to save humanity, to somewhat to reduce the negative impact of this pandemic. So to all viewers, please do not forget to leave your comments and question on our YouTube channel. We will try to get back to you as soon as possible with our response to your questions. With that, thanks once again, Dr. Nomita Sharma from Delhi, and I would like to greet everyone. Hope that you always be well and productive. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much once again.